regretfully had a sexual incident with a female high school senior in the church.
He tells the world that it had occurred. And everybody stands and they give him a standing ovation.
A jury in New York has found that Trump sexually abused and defamed E. Jean Carroll and awarded her $5 million in damages.
It may seem surprising that a self-professed moral majority would end up supporting a candidate who has bragged about assaulting women. But if you look inside their own communities, you can see how for decades they have propped up men who have abused power and have excused all kinds of harm, all kinds of abuses for the sake of that power. The ends justifies the means.
That will fight even harder for Christians with 4 more years in the White House. I get in there, you're going to be using that power at a level that you've never used it before.
We wake up tomorrow in a Christian nation. Will women have the right to vote tomorrow if you wave that magic Christian wand?
No.
Macho power is not what Jesus calls for. Jesus himself did not operate in that way. Jesus was gentle.
Several of us Epstein survivors have been discussing creating our own list of names. We know the names. Many of us were abused by them. Now, together as survivors, we will confidentially compile the names we all know were regularly in the Epstein world. And it will be done by survivors and for survivors. No one else is involved. Stay tuned for more details on that.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, and lots going on. You asked for it, you got it, Niele. The Epstein Files.
Yeah, peace and love. Let it be known, family, and all who are just viewing us today. Come on in. We got a lot of headlines coming out of Black America for you, including the Epstein Files. We'll have a conversation about that. But we have headlines from Nigeria as well as Florida, and we'll tell you why Snoop is apologizing again. But first stop, yesterday the headlines were full of Capitol Hill, from press conferences from Epstein survivors to Donald Trump and his clan. It was a busy day on Capitol Hill yesterday, Stacey.
It was, and you know, those videos really break down how we got here, right? This idea of, you know, men being able to abuse women and abuse power, abuse their way to power. It's the American way, apparently.
White men of power getting grace, being forgiven, and women not being believed. You know, that's what those videos said to me. You know, trust white men, don't believe women. You know, especially coming out of the evangelical church. I mean, I think we have to put that in perspective as well. You saw Paula White, who used to pander in the Black church. And now she is all out white nationalist, 10 toes down for Donald Trump, not even believing her own sisterhood, her own white sisters. She'd rather defend rapists, molesters.
Well, children. Yeah, exactly. And this is what the Epstein thing too contains, a lot of child sexual abuse. And Donald Trump sat in the Oval Office behind Poland's president and brushed off calls to release more Jeffrey Epstein's files. He called it a Democratic hoax that never ends. Now, folks, Niele, when he was running, all he talked about, well, not all he talked about, but he kept talking about the Epstein files too, and he wanted everything released. And we knew, you had to know that was just pandering in itself, and it was never going to be released. And if anything released, it's fully redacted. Let's face it. At this point, can you trust anything that this Congress and this Department of Justice releases?
No, you can't. And I think just to put everything in perspective, yesterday, while you had women on the steps or in front of the Capitol, really, talking about their experiences and wanting transparency, as you see, accountability and acknowledgement of their pain. Donald Trump decides while they're speaking and telling their truth and things that probably they would love to bury in the past. Donald Trump decides to get his white brethren and have them all standing around and have a press conference and call it a hoax as they are being brave, right? Some of those women yesterday were testifying about how they've been followed, how they've received death threats, just because they were victims and they want to tell their truth. They are being still victimized, and Donald Trump stands up and calls them a hoax. But I think that we also should point out what happened yesterday is that Black women are still the baddest and the boldest, because there was only one Black woman that stood up and said, we are going to compile our own list, okay? Because we were there.
They're the ones.
That was a Black woman, okay?
Mhm.
Once again, the Black woman not only told her truth, but she told them that, no, we're going to come after you and we're going to tell the truth, whether you want to release them files or not.
Yeah, so that brings up something I had wondered about anyway. They can themselves. I've said this before. I've thought about this before, I should say. The victims themselves can do that, right? They can tell you exactly what happened. I mean, you had Jess Michaels up there. She was 22. She says when Epstein raped her, we're not supposed to use our word, I know. Wendy Avis was abused when she was just 14. And there are others, teenagers, and they're the thing about it, Neil, we've seen over the years before Trump took office, long before, we've seen video and photographs of these victims with Epstein and Trump and others. Now Trump obviously is claiming it's a hoax now, but like I said, he was at the forefront of releasing the files. Presumably because he believed that you would find a lot of names of his adversaries in there, but he's the main one apparently.
Yeah, it's just, the way he did it yesterday, it just shows his lack of respect for women. I mean, the way, these women are outside. I mean, talking about real time, they are outside asking for accountability, transparency, and justice. And he interrupts. He knows that if he goes on live, because people don't know if he's sick, he's the president of the free world, so to say. While they're talking, he goes, no, I'm going to go live and say everything they're saying is bullshit and it's a hoax. I mean, just and all the white men standing around him defending that type of behavior. I think that America has a white man problem.
Yeah, and odd for me to be bringing this up at this time, but you're right. You're 100% right. Why not allow them to have their press conference? Why not to give them, as you said, their grace? When Bill Cosby was being accused, before his trial, he was doing stand-up, and during the stand-up at some locations, including in Baltimore, there was a group of people in the stands led by Gloria Allred, yelling and screaming and shouting him down. And the audience that paid to see him perform, they were upset. And Cosby was like, no, let them have their moment. And it's like Obama. Is another, not that Obama was ever accused of anything. I'm saying when they were heckling Obama at one of his rallies, he said, don't boo, vote. He was very, you see the picture I'm drawing here of how other people have handled situations where there was something else important going on. This guy has no respect for women whatsoever. And to do this, knowing that these are true victims, Epstein was convicted and sent to prison for what he did. Let
So
these
was his
women
accomplice.
speak.
So was his accomplice.
So was
She's
his accomplice.
right now. Yeah. And so, yeah.
Let
But
them speak.
right. Right. But I just think, like looking at this picture right now, like I say, once again, it's a Black woman. We heard, all of the other women, talking about their experience, but a Black woman at the front of leadership, like, no, we're going to go a step further. You don't want to release them files? Guess what? We're going to compile our own. And I thought that they even showed that douchebag Trump a certain level of grace, because they didn't make that press conference about him
About him at all. At all.
him. It was about them being victims of the Epstein circle. Okay. He was just one of many nasty, perverted men that took advantage of young girls. It wasn't about him. It was about accountability for what these white men of power have done to young girls. That's what this was about. If he was a part of that ring, so be it. But it was even bigger than him. But he wanted to defend all the white men. And what's even interesting enough, we don't talk a lot about Bill Clinton, but Donald Trump is even protecting Bill Clinton.
Right. And that's the funny part, right? That's the funny part about it. He hates the Clintons.
Right.
But he's protecting
Bill. Yeah. He's protecting all those white men that were a part of that ring and that went to that island.
Right. And that's the irony in it too. That he's so gun-ho about this that he is protecting those that he hates. So this
gonna stick at the end of the day, they're gonna stick together, okay? And this is a prime example of how they stick together at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely right. I don't think that he's intentionally protecting him, but I think that he knows that if all that comes out, that hey, how he's gonna look, and does he even care how he looks?
Clearly he does, because if he didn't, he'd say release the files.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And it makes you believe not only that he and perhaps others are in the files that, we speculate, but what those files say. It's not just names. It's what they did, what evidence to show that what they did. Because if there was no evidence in there, for instance, if it just says, this person visited or flew on Epstein's plane, which we've seen that stuff come out, or they went to a party on Epstein Island. If it just says that alone, you can make an inference, yes, that they did something nefarious, but there's no proof of it. So I'm wondering, does these files also contain a treasure trove of evidence that show that they did what many people speculate that they did with children?
And not only that, it goes back to Mar-a-Lago. Donald Trump has even acknowledged, like some of the young girl workers, they would run them through we'll say allegedly, but I mean, Trump has acknowledged some of this, that some of these things and trafficking these people happen allegedly at Mar-a-Lago. And those are probably in those files as well. So not only, was he an invited guest, but he was allegedly, I believe, a participant in the ring of how to transport these girls, human trafficking. You don't be surprised in those files if you find a connection between the Trump atmosphere and human trafficking.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. It has to be more than just names, a list of names. It has to be something in those files that point to some serious evidence against some serious people.
And at the top of the list is Donald Trump. One of the girls yesterday said that in Epstein's office on his desk was a picture of Donald Trump, him and Donald Trump.
Yeah, it's irrefutable how close they were at one point. Now, he can say, and he has said that, he distanced himself at a certain point, but it's irrefutable. We've seen photos. There have been little videos of him and Epstein palling around and stuff like that. And those
allegations that Trump may have met Melania in that orbit.
That's a 100%. This is though that has been alleged not just once or twice, but a number of times. So real interesting stuff. But it going back to what you said earlier. Just why not give them that space, to just express themselves? But that's another part of this whole dictatorship too. Ripping away the freedom of speech.
Mm-hmm.
So
but I don't think these women are going to go away quietly. And clearly we know this week that they were treated like trash on Capitol Hill.
Because even Marjorie Taylor Greene, of all people, turned out to be the comforter and the voice of reason.
Right. And all because white men are protecting alleged pedophile, a convicted felon of assaulting women. Okay, let's not forget that. It's not like it came out the clip. Donald Trump is a convicted felon for sexual assault. I mean, he still owes that woman money now, right?
Well, he's not a convicted felon for sexual assault. He's a convicted felon for other charges. But a civil jury found him guilty or liable for sexual assault.
Okay. So a jury found him convicted for in a civil case for sexual assault. Okay.
Correct.
So he has been convicted in a civil case for sexual assault. He owes that woman some millions of dollars.
Right.
So he does have a past connected to him in courts for being assaulting women. And so it's not like even Bill Clinton hasn't been, he's been impeached.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
But I mean, Donald Trump, even going back to when he was running for president and grab him by the, the P, he was on tape. Undeniable. Okay, so you have the civil sexual assault case. You have him on tape talking about how he goes into the dressing rooms of when he had his pageants, and think about those. We're not even talking about those girls, the pageant girls. We're just talking about Epstein. But what about all of the women in the pageants that he's assaulted that haven't said anything?
Yeah. And you mentioned that infamous Access Hollywood tape with he says grab them by the what. Who paid dearly for that was Billy Bush.
Yeah, the host of the show.
Yeah, and I don't know Billy Bush personally, but I was on his show 2 or 3 times. He interviewed me 2 or 3 times. I was with him in New York. We did a long thing together, and he seemed like such a really good guy, right? Just in the short time that I spent with him, the 2-3 times that I've been around him, and we've he's interviewed me. We've had lunch and we talked. And it's a shame that he lost his career, and this other guy on the tape, who's making all the comments, became president of the United States. How is that? Let that sink in.
Well, there are a lot of people who have fallen by the wayside because of Donald Trump. Look at his first administration. You know what I mean? Everybody falls by the wayside except Donald Trump. You know what I mean? And there'll be more to come out of this administration.
Yeah. Goodness grief. Oh boy. So we will see. So the victims, Epstein's victim says, you know what? We know that we know the names. We're gonna release them ourselves. And so good for them. And let's hope that they stay protected so that they can do this, but they could also somehow find some peace, because that may just very well be one of the things from such a traumatic experience, maybe one of the things that prove cathartic for them in some way.
Mm-hmm.
So all the best to those women. When Niall, more than 1,000 current and former employees of the Department of Health and Human Services unite to demand the resignation of their own boss, it's not business as usual. It's a red alarm for the health of the nation. These are the very people who swore an oath to protect Americans, and they are now warning that RF Kennedy Jr. is compromising public safety. They point to his purge of the CDC, his dismantling of vaccine advisory committees, and his open hostility toward scientific expertise. They put a letter together that clearly states that RFK Jr.'s actions are, quote, compromising the health of this nation, and they demand his resignation. And this is not partisan bickering. This is the scientific and medical backbone of America pleading with Congress and the president to step in before more damage is done.
Yeah, so 1100, you know, like you said, nonpartisan, just federal workers, you know, people trying to make sure that Americans are safe, that safeguards are in place. And, you know, once again, white, powerful men, you know, once, you know, running against Donald Trump, now he's an ally, and just destroying this country and putting American lives in jeopardy. And I mean, that's all this is about, is that these 1100 workers are sounding the alarm, letting us know. You know, their secretary, but guess what? Y'all should be very concerned, because
Very
a lot of hocus pocus going on now.
Hocus pocus. You know, again, these Republicans in Congress who decided a long time ago that they were going to just, you know, when Trump says bend over, they say, you know, sure. They let people like RFK Jr. in, and other non-qualified lunatics in positions where they shouldn't be. And, you know, they just allowed this guy to, knowing his history, but only let him in. If Joe Biden or Barack Obama or somebody like a Democrat would have nominated this guy for that position, even Democrats would have went against him.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it just shows the state of our nation, and it is a huge red flag. And, you know, the thing about it is, you don't have to, for the most part, even with COVID-19, you didn't have to take the vaccine. I mean, you would have had to stay in your house all the time because it became a part of if you wanted to do this or do that, but it was still your choice, right? And so why are you taking away our choices? You know, like, let's look at it from that perspective. Like, we're not mandated to take a flu shot, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're not mandated to take it. I mean, it's offered to us through our healthcare, but it's not a mandate. So why are you taking away from us our options? You know, why are you trying to make our public schools a cesspool for all types of diseases to come in and for kids to catch it, and we not have any herd immunity? You know what I'm saying? Like, why are you taking away our options to be healthy, to be safe? I'm not a big flu shot taker. Don't like it. So guess what? I don't take it. But my mother and my grandmother, anytime they got a shot to take, I'm going to Kaiser to get my shots. That's their choice. Why are you trying to take away their choices?
Yeah, well, and taking away their choices and having this guy with his whacked out theories, conspiracy theories, guiding policy. It's crazy. It's just what in the world's going on?
Yeah, I mean, that's just health. We're not talking about, you know, the food industry, and the things that he's recommended on that side of town, and in those agencies. And so it's just like, you know, I don't understand. I mean, I guess it's the foundation of this country, but it was the worst of the worst that came over here. You know, Tea Party, the worst of the worst that came over here. And it is like their wildest dreams are in the White House, doing what they have done since they came over on the boat.
Yeah. You're right. You said this before, like they're their ancestors' dreams.
Dreams.
Dr. Joni says nobody with knowledge or experience is in any position of power in the federal government. It is a pure grift.
And the
And
reality. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, I was just going to follow up what she also said. As a doctor of public health and epidemiology, please let me assure you that flu and COVID shots are extremely effective in preventing deep illness and death, and children must be vaccinated. It saves lives.
Yeah, I mean, trust science, trust science. And the reality is, if a Democrat were to take office right now and they tried to do this, all the white Republicans would be totally against it. They would not allow this to happen. It is only under a Trump Klan administration. Klan, and I say Klan because white supremacy, systemic racism, they're trying to preserve it all.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is their
And
last chance to preserve it
yeah.
all.
And you know, and she, Dr. Joni, that is, says that her career in training in unvaccinated children will be harmed, as will vaccinated children. She says, think of Disney and a whole state of unvaccinated children. There you have it. And Major Boyce is right. That's another part that I keep saying too, Major Boyce, that the less they have to deal with the more money they claim to save for their pockets. There you go. There you go. Um, so folks, Montel Jordan has announced that his cancer has returned. I had a chance to speak to him yesterday, by the way, and he opened up about something that is heavier than music. He talked about his cancer returning, upgraded to stage 2 and more aggressive than before. He said that they have found it in like different pockets of his body, but he is feeling good. He's looking good. He's following his doctor's orders and advice. He said that the one of the things that has kept him in a good place health wise is that he constantly got checkups. He saw his doctors. He says for Black men, his message was, listen, you may not like your dentist, but you got to get it done. He says he don't like his dentist, but he went and found a dentist that he liked. He don't like if you don't like your doctor, he's saying, go find a doctor that you do like. Don't let that be a reason for you not to get the checkups and the exams and the treatment that you need. So he's sending out a message. And also, Neil, he has a new new documentary that's coming out about his journey, and he wants people to know about it. And it's called Blitz the Barriers is what it's called. And you can go on to Blitz the Barriers. It's a website there. And also he's now the newest global ambassador for Zero Prostate Cancer. So he is not just a victim of cancer, if you will, a subject of cancer, but he is actually doing some work to help others to understand prostate cancer better, Black men especially.
Yeah, Dr. Joni says prevention is so much easier than treating after the fact. Yeah, prevention is better than intervention. And I think, even taking the conversation a little further is, like as a Black man, there were a lot of federal fundings for programs that, made prostate cancer awareness, like in church programs, your local community, nonprofit organizations, all of that, awareness and prevention instead of intervention, that funding is gone. So who's going to educate the community? You have Montel Jordan, who's a public figure, but really he's going to only resonate with probably Gen Xers, right? Our demo. But there was a time where you could have a nonprofit that might partner with him and some other, to get it out in the community. But that type of funding is gone, So who's gonna be in the community doing the intervention for prostate cancer?
Yeah. So, in this case, though, fortunately, though, Neil, he does have a partner here with zero prostate cancer. Um, and I said Blitz the Barrier. That's part of the campaign, but the documentary is called Sustain, and they are working on that. You can go to a website. It's called sustain.com, I believe, or net. You can look it up, but you can contribute to this documentary. But Neil, did you know? I did not know this going into my discussion with him yesterday. He's also a pastor.
Yeah, he's friends with we've had him on the show before, Shep Crawford, the producer.
Okay.
Shep Crawford has produced a lot of music with him, and he actually works with him, producing songs with him, but they're pastor minister friends as well. Mhm.
Oh, okay. And again, he and he made this point because I told him, I said, you look, we were on a Zoom, and I said, you look good. And he said, yeah. He said, I look good, but he says, what's ugly is what's inside. He
Mhm.
said that cancer is so ugly. He says, you obviously you can't see it, but he says you got to prevention, as Dr. Joni, as you brought out, Neil, he kept talking about prevention. He was like, Stacy, you got to tell people about prevention, and you
Yeah.
got to tell them about early intervention and not fearing, you know, getting these checkups. And the other point he made was, prostate, men automatically, one of the things that they feared was the finger, as he said, and he says they don't even do that anymore. They got better ways of checking. And the tests are, they are very much on point. And so, folks got to wake up. He says, this is a wake up call for sure. It should be for a lot of people. Because we
Mhm.
tend to, when we think about our celebrities, sometimes, we tend to think that, they're immune to certain things, but they're very much just like us.
For sure.
So, Neil, and so all the best to Montel Jordan. But here's another thing. Now we had this conversation the other day about Snoop Dogg. Now, apparently he apologized, but no, he didn't. What's
Yeah,
going on, Neil?
I mean, he was just like, damn. That was like, to me, it was like, damn. I'm
What
sorry.
happened here?
My bad. He's like, my bad. I can't feel how I feel.
But all of this, but what's weird about this is this so-called apology and everything else came from his official account.
Oh yeah, no, but I mean he was apologizing, but it was kind of like, just being, facetious about it. Like, damn, like I can't, feel the way I feel. I'm my bad. I didn't know we was letting this conversation happen in cartoons now. My bad. It was kind of like one of those things. Okay, like send me the memo so I'll know how to respond.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
I didn't get the memo that we was doing this now in cartoons, and I was supposed to be able to have this conversation, or I was supposed to be knowledgeable enough to have this conversation with my grandkids. My bad. I'm sorry.
but he also did note that whatever that was that came out of his official account where he says teach me how to learn, et cetera, he said that was fake. You don't believe him?
He was high.
He was high. Well, there you go. That's a perfect Snoop Dogg alibi. He was high. But listen, so it goes back to what we talked about before, right? Isn't it more about whether does Hollywood, let's say it that way, let me say it that way, does Hollywood owe families a heads up on LGBTQ representation, or is that expectation that they owe a problem itself?
I mean, I just think it's an evolution at time, and a Pandora's box has been opened, and so now we have to, evolve with time. Big Cheese says Snoop does not owe anyone an apology. I mean, I tend to agree with that. I don't think that he really did. I mean, parenting is a household choice, right?
Mhm.
And so if he felt like he didn't want to have that conversation, I mean, that's his prerogative,
Mhm.
for that. And so I just think that maybe I think we talked about having those parental messages. And so maybe
Mhm.
now, like I'm saying, time, culture evolves. So just
Mhm.
like, before there wasn't a PG-14, it was either PG or R. And then we're like, okay, now we have to have a PG-14 because now there's some content that a teenager can see, but not, a child. So maybe now we have to have like the Q, so that we know that this content has queer content in it, to alert the parents. I mean, I think that's a fair thing for both communities. That's fair, right? Chad, what do
Yeah,
you
yeah. What do you think, chat? I'm sorry, Neil. Yes, a good question for the chat. What do you think? Greer says she doesn't believe that Snoop owes an apology. Again, whether they put labels, ratings on it or not, I think it's the parents' responsibility to find out what the movie's all about, what's in the movies that are before taking their children.
I mean, come
Um,
on, Stacy, though. I mean, okay, Disney puts out a cartoon, and I'm like, my kid is like, they want to go see it. I'm not
mhm.
thinking that I'm going to have, sexual
Right,
conversations with them.
right.
But this is where we are, and so it's a ride. So now step a cue on it, and let's keep it going. So now the parents say, okay, this cartoon has, content that has to do with sexuality in it, right? And so put a cue on it and let's keep it moving.
Yeah, I guess. I listen. You're right. Something that you said there. You aren't going to the movies to see a cartoon for children, in which you think whether it's LGBTQ or whatever, heterosexual or whatever, you're not thinking you're going to have to explain any type of you know relationship situation to your
Or
children, to a
yeah, or
small
maybe
child.
not a cue, maybe not a cue, maybe if you don't want to like put an S on it, sexual content is in it, put an S on it,
But,
so the
but so
parent
was
knows
it sexual content though? Was it sexual
or
content?
gender. Okay, G. Okay, let's go G. It's gender content. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know.
It's like that's what I'm saying. It's like you don't want to be offensive. That's why I say queer community now instead of LGBTQ plus elemental P, because there's
Mhm.
constantly alphabets being added, right? Which is the prerogative of the individual. So I just say queer because queer encompasses everything.
So Greer says, just to make sure that everyone, all of us understand, this was not about sexual content or anything like that. It was about representation.
I mean, some people feel that way, and some people feel like it, I mean, it's such a conversation that it depends on who you're talking to,
Mhm.
and that is a true assessment as to what Greer said. But for like a Gen Xer or a baby boomer who is not that woke into the evolution of what's happening, it could be about
Mhm.
sexuality to them. And I don't think that that's wrong for them to feel that way.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
it's
Dr. Joni says there's no difference. Sexual content is the issue, she says.
oh, okay. See what I'm saying? Sexual content. She says it's not. Greer says it's about representation.
Mm. Yeah, it's
I
a
say stick
for,
a
for,
stamp
for
on
yeah, because for me, it's an interesting conversation to see, only because I think folks, our chat chimes in a lot. It is what it is today. I don't know, I don't even know what to say about it, Neo.
And see, Dr. Joni also says, I disagree that queer sexuality is any more or less inappropriate. The parents should know if sexuality is involved. Yeah, I mean, this is where we're at.
Well, it's a conversation that can go on and on and on. Folks will always have, it'll be 1,000 different views on this.
Right. But at
Shanae
the end
says
of the day, oh, go ahead.
Shanae says, have we gotten to a place where we can't see two people of the same sexual affection?
Oh, most definitely. I think it's appropriate in in Sex and the City. I think it's appropriate for adult content. But let kids, be kids. Why does sexuality have to be a conversation? Now, I understand if there's certain programming for kids that are, going through, trying to find their identity, right? And they're going through the stages of, trying to identify of what they identify. I understand programming like that. I totally get it. If PBS wants to make a show about, learning who I am, being comfortable with whom I am. Why do I want to, as a boy, why do I want to put nail polish on my toes and fingers? You know what I'm saying? Like, having to be able to have a child feel accepted no matter who they are. I totally agree with that. But that's like those programming shows to where there was a niche for a certain category to where you wanted to talk to kids and make them feel that things are okay. But in general, if we're just going to the movies to see a cartoon, why do we have to have such deep conversations? Can we just watch Tom chase Jerry and vice versa?
Well, that was sexual, wasn't it?
Well, see, as a child, I never thought that. Maybe as an adult, but as a child, all I saw was Tom and Jerry. I that's something that I think people got as an adult, but we didn't get that. I mean, as a child, I did not see anything sexual about Tom and Jerry.
Yeah. Well, what else you got, Neo?
Let's see. No, they're still going back and forth about that situation. But in headline news, in international headline news, Nigerians are facing an uptick in denied entry to the U.S. after unexplained visa cancellation. So this whole conversation when we were talking a few months ago, not my problem. They picking up and rounding up all the Latinos, not my problem. Well, guess what? It's becoming our problem. The news of these visa cancellations have remained relatively under the radar. And according to Business Insider Africa, Nigerian citizens have faced refusals at the border without any prior warning that their visas are at risk. Now, many Nigerians whose work ranges from business to entertainment, as well as those with family in the States, have had their visas pulled with no explanation and
no warning.
And the White House came out yesterday and said they're citing it, as a national security problem.
Yeah, again, this is all being set up to declare martial law. It's just as simple as that, and there will be no election, period.
Well, I mean, but even more so of that, when we talk about us as Black people, talk about what's happening with immigration and them rounding up, all of these brown people, that's not our problem. But I think Charles Blow put out a video yesterday, even talking about, even you brought up national security, like this was all about, the ICE being able to go and conduct their raids. Well, now it's gone from ICE to Trump attacking Black cities and Black mayors. So is it really about ICE, or is it really about you just trying to take over Black and brown communities and be the dominant white, rising white power in this country? And so this is never, so when we say not our problem, at the end of the day, it's always going to be a Black problem.
Yeah, Dr. Joni says we've had graduate students from certain countries have their student visas pulled by the federal government, and it's always students of color at 100%. And to do it without warning, without cause. It's real nasty work.
Yeah, you're coming back to the United States to be with your family, or you're coming to the United States to work to pay for your family, and all of a sudden now you're denied.
Hmm. And for anybody who supports this, they're trash too. Yeah, it's no way to support something like that. That just the inhumanity. It just shows you that folks are just so inhumane in their actions, their thoughts, their hearts are so bad. It's just horrible. It's horrible. You cannot. How do you be unmoved when you see a baby ripped from his mother's arms, and put in cages and stuff like? Come on, give me a break.
So let's head to Florida, where Florida Surgeon General Joseph A. Lapadopo has announced plans to end all state vaccine mandates. We were talking about this earlier, including for children to attend schools, which would make it the first state to completely withdraw from a practice credited with boosting vaccination rates and controlling the spread of infectious diseases. Now, speaking at a news conference, he said that every vaccine mandate is wrong and drips with disdain and slavery. Slavery?
Like I said, people support this stuff. Yeah.
Slavery?
Yeah. Listen, I am not a political person, cover politics. I'm not a political person, but you support something like this, ain't no way I could deal with you.
Slavery?
Right. It's like, give me a break. Give me a break.
And so, we were talking about, but it's going to take, from a federal level, from Kennedy to state leadership. And here you have somebody in Florida falling in line with his agenda.
Yeah.
And a black man at that.
Oh, gosh.
All right. Let's stay in Florida, where two Florida pastors are stirring up some John Lewis good trouble. Now, according to Fox 13 Tampa Bay, Reverend Andrew Oliver of Allendale United Methodist Church and Reverend Benedict Zeman of the Unitarian Universalist Church of St. Petersburg were arrested after peacefully protesting the removal of a Black History Matters street mural. Now, the pastor said directly on the mural to block Florida's Department of Transportation workers from painting over it. And they were arrested and charged with pedestrian obstruction and hindering traffic. Now, this protest came after a Florida Senate Bill 1662 was signed into law back in June, prohibiting any form of political expression, including street murals, on state-controlled transportation facilities. And so not only did they do that, I think last week or week before last, Pulse, that nightclub, which was for the queer community that was gunned down due to gun violence, had a rainbow flag painted on the streets as a memorial that they would never forget what happened at that club. And DeSantis painted over that too.
Well, it's folks have really shown who they are, and the sad thing about it is that you have some in blackface running around supporting this stuff, and then you get these guys, like you said, they are standing up. In that case, wasn't standing up, but they were, they are trying. There's still folks, I think you've said this a number of times, who are out actively trying to make a difference. So
yeah, I mean, and look, those are allies, okay. And once again, you have these southern states falling in line with federal mandate. We saw the Trump administration, the first mural they started with was the Black Lives Matter mural in DC.
Yeah.
Now you have Black History Matters. You have the rainbow street taken away, queer community.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to agree with it, but you don't have to be disrespectful either.
100%.
So
that's the bingo right there.
you know,
You don't
and,
have to be disrespectful. You don't
right,
have to agree with it, but you don't have to be. Yeah, go on with your life.
right.
So, man.
And we have a couple of sports headlines. Today is a busy day in sports. Naomi Osaka has advanced to the U.S. Open semifinals, and she plays this afternoon. And tonight, the NFL officially kicks off with the Super Bowl champs, Philadelphia Eagles, taking on the Dallas Cowboys. And a lot of
Big
people
night.
are really talking about this docu-series that's on Netflix about the Dallas Cowboys. It has something about the coach, the owner. I think Deion Sanders is in it a little bit. And so everybody is talking about it. So if you're a football fan, there's something you could watch on Netflix about the Dallas Cowboys. But all eyes on the Cowboys and Philadelphia tonight. Who you got, Stacey?
You know, I'm gonna go to my sister's house. She is having a big party, opening night party in the backyard, having it on the big screen and stuff like that. I don't care who wins or loses.
Well, you
I just
have
want
on
to.
your green shirt. I thought you were going to
Oh
say.
no. Green. Well, green. If anything, it'd be representing the Jets, who are horrible. But but I'm just rooting for a good game, like Super Bowls. You know, I always root for good games and just to have some fun. And I tell you what, it just means that tomorrow morning, Neil, you're gonna have to carry the conversation with Dr. Cosby because I'm gonna be hungover.
Oh wow. Oh wow. I'm with Nancy Wall. I'm going with the Eagles because I like Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, you did mention that, you know, just because you like the quarterback.
Yeah, you know. I'm
Anybody else you like?
I'm rooting for everybody black. So
Who was black?
Philadelphia is, you know, they're it's a black city.
Well, Dallas got some black folks on their
Dallas is a
team.
black city too. Yeah, Dallas is a black city too. But nah, I'm gonna go with Jalen.
But they got, as RNG says, the owner, he refers to the owner as Jim Crow Jerry Jones. Of course he was. So the Cowboys owner, if you didn't know, Neil, was involved in the Little Rock Nine. He was protesting integration. They a couple of years ago, they came out with was it just photos or was it video too of a young Jerry Jones trying to block the Little Rock Nine.
We're gonna talk about them a little bit later in the show today too. That's interesting to know.
Yeah, so it's more of a reason to root against the Cowboys for you.
Hey, I never was. I did, but back in the day, I did like the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders when they were in their heyday and they had their.
Well, they were the standard bearer, right? They were when it comes to football. Of course, the Lakers in Showtime.
The Laker girls took over for basketball, but back
Right.
in the day, the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders, they had a TV show, they had it all.
Yeah. It was like two black women and about 60 cheerleaders.
All right. Those are your headlines for today.
Did you have a cheerlead?
No.
No? Why not?
I didn't want to. I mean, did you?
Of course not. I played. I had to. They were cheering on the side.
Too. You could have been. You know, they have male cheerleaders.
No, I mean, listen. When my first year playing, I rode the bench, so I knew all the cheers because I would just be sitting next to the cheerleaders.
Well, hey, you could have got active. You know, if you couldn't get on the field, you could have got on the sideline. You gave us a kick or two.
No, I was more interested in watching them kick. Anyway, let me get to some Black History facts. On this date in 1781, hey Neil, how about this? Los Angeles, California was founded by 44 settlers, of whom at least 26 were descendants of Africans. Among the Black settlers was Joseph Moreno, who was an African and French mixed race individual. It was a few of those. Manuel Cameron, an African and French mixed race individual. Antonio Mesa, who was an African. and his wife was mixed with French and African, and Jose Antonio Navarro, a mixed race black man, and an American Indian, Basil Rosa. So they were some of the founding fathers of Los Angeles. How about that?
Mm-hmm. They say California was no, they say California was named after a black woman. Yeah.
Okay. California.
Mm-hmm.
Very good.
And in more, we were talking about the Little Rock Nine. Today in Black History is a reminder of just how much this Trump plan has taken us backwards, okay? Because we always hear about the National Guard walking them into school, but before they even got that far, on September 4th in 1957, the Little Rock Nine made their first attempt, okay, to enter the all-white Little Rock Central High School in Little Rock, Arkansas, but were turned away by guess who?
Mm-hmm.
The Arkansas National Guard, okay,
Mm-hmm.
who had been called to block their entry by the governor at the time, okay? So this event was a pivotal moment in the desegregation of public schools, leading to President Eisenhower sending the federal troops to escort the students into Central High School on September 25th in 1957. And so, I mean, I just think that we always see like
There's Jerry Jones.
Ooh, see,
There he is.
Yeah. And so, but I think too, you know, like just pointing this out, but also thinking about like what they went through that month, right? This was September 4th. They didn't really get, you know, taken into the school until the 25th, but just think about all the days leading up to it, the racist, you know, tones that their families probably have to face, right? And then looking at our nation now and seeing that, you know, the National Guard, Trump is using again to do these type of tactics. Or, you know, like look how backwards we're going instead of moving forward.
Yeah, exactly. And again, that's what I said. You claim to be black, African American, foundational Black American, and support this? Yeah, miss me with that. I met Jerry Jones a couple of years ago. I went to I was in Dallas for the PGA of America's. They were doing their Hall of Fame. They were opening up their new headquarters, but they were also inducting Tiger Woods into the Hall of Fame. And Jerry Jones and some of the Cowboy greats, Emmitt Smith, Too Tall Jones, a couple of Cowboy legends were there, and I got a chance to meet. In fact, during the Hall of Fame ceremony, I sat right next to Jerry Jones, and had a chance to chat with him a little bit. But he was, you know, Jim Crow Jerry Jones is what RNG says. And he just made a trade, by the way, Niel, earlier this week or last week, that everybody was like, this guy he's an idiot. He's a buffoon. So giving away that type of talent I don't know the Cowboys that well today, that, you know, who's who on the Cowboys, but apparently this guy that they gave away, Jerry Jones traded away, was a bona fide star.
Who was it?
I don't know his name. I forgot his name, I should say, but it got everybody upset. And I was, where was I yesterday? And I saw it on the screen. Stephen A. Jerk Smith was talking about it with Mad Dog Russo and some others. And it kept going on the screen, how idiotic this was, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't know the guy. You know, it's easy to keep up with players in other sports. Football teams, you got like 60 players on a team. Whereas basketball is what, 15, and baseball is 26. Michael Parsons is the guy. Yeah, watch Swag Sports. He can tell you about that. Watch RNG Swag Sports on Friday nights. So, folks, our Black-owned newspaper of the day is the Baltimore Times. It's a free weekly newspaper that was founded in 1986. How about that, RNG, the year the Mets won the World Series? That covers the African-American community in Baltimore County, Maryland. Readers enjoy the Baltimore Times and the Annapolis Times, its sister paper, as well as a host of events and activities such as health expos educational forums, workshops, and seminars directed toward communities most affected by the disparities in healthcare, business, finance, and other areas that impact the quality of life. And the Baltimore Times is one newspaper that does not print anything about violence or anything of that nature. It's all positive news. Yeah. So that's our newspaper of the day.
I love that. And coming out of Baltimore or Maryland, there's reports that Governor Wes Moore was in Italy vacationing over the Labor Day holiday at George Clooney's house. Now, it's unclear if George Clooney and his wife were there with them, but we know that George Clooney thinks very highly of Wes Moore, and I'm talking about presidential highly. So to just hear that story swarming around, it just still keeps that mystique around him. Well, is he going to run? Is he going to do it? There you have it. now look at that.
Wait a minute now.
Look at
what's
that.
going on?
I love it. Okay.
What's going on? You love it, but what's happening there?
I mean, it's just like, remember when Obama was in Hawaii and it was like, okay, that's our president. You know what I'm saying? Come on. We want him, hey, can you imagine, can you imagine Donald Trump on a boat with his shirt off?
Well, he should try it, right? He should try it.
No,
terrible.
Keep him on the golf course fully dressed, okay?
Okay.
Please keep him on the golf course fully dressed.
Don't want to mess up your breakfast, huh?
Yeah, but you can find some of that good news coming out of the Baltimore Times at blackpressusa.com, where we bring you the headlines from all of the newspapers that are uplifting the Black experience, that are Black owned and Black led. So head over to blackpressusa.com. I don't know if you're going to see that one. Oh, well, look, that's from the Sun. No, that's not a Black paper, but you might see. That's some good news. So maybe the Baltimore Times, we're going to put that up there because that looked like some real good news. Okay.
Some shirtless
news.
Some fine. That's a shame. So we got to put Governor Wes Moore up on the screen like that.
Yeah, Stacey, that's the assignment. Let's get that story up on Black Press USA for shirtless Wes Moore. Right?
But wait a minute. RNG says no, don't put Trump. He said Trump would be shirtless with a diaper on. So
that's what I'm saying. Keep him fully dressed on the golf course. Keep them ankles covered up. Keep them ankles. Keep them ankles covered up.
Maybe he and Wes Moore, maybe they should have a duel on the beach.
You know who's gonna be like, who's gonna come running like, don't forget about me, Gavin Newsom. He's gonna be like, wait a minute.
Listen,
y'all still forget about me.
Hey, listen, you're doing yourself a disservice if you're not still following Gavin Newsom's social media posts. That guy oh my gosh, his social media posts are legendary. But anyway, folks, we are just babbling on now. Thanks for joining us. Tomorrow morning, again, we're going to have Dr. Bill Cosby on, and he's going to talk about some things that I think you want to hear about that he's never talked about publicly before. And we're talking about when he was incarcerated. And so he's going to open up about some things there. And he's decided that he wanted to tell it to the Black press. So stay tuned tomorrow morning on Let It Be Known. We'll see you then.